Go for it.
Hey yo, welcome to the Monday Mastermind. Sean, thanks for showing up today. Excited to dive into it with you today. How are you doing today, fam?
Hey, man, I'm good. Thanks for bringing me back on, and thanks for our conversation earlier. You guys don't see it, but me and Alex, we have lots of conversations throughout the week, lots of movement, lots of tumultuous things happening, a lot of planning. So it's all exciting. It's all fun. It's all um, forward incremental progress. Tell me more about that,
Mm,
Alex.
yeah, today's topic is forward incremental progress in this very fast-moving world. It seems that we can work effectively and efficiently more than ever before now, especially with AI technology. It's just absolutely incredible. Definitely something to manage. And I find that no matter how fast we can move, the effectiveness and efficiency. A term that shows up for me is forward incremental progress, taking it one step at a time. And clearly, it looks different for everybody. You know, some people take one step and it looks like 75. Some people take a step and it looks like one step, and everyone's kind of on their own journey. And I find forward incremental progress is a great way to create sustainability, especially in the context of change. As you're changing something, adding something, omitting something, change.
Mm. Yeah, I'm envisioning two different things. I'm envisioning a video game where have you ever seen those video games where you get a climb as things are falling and you jump from one thing to the next? And sometimes it's a jump upward move, right? Sometimes it's a downward move, and that thing rises up faster than the other things. So sometimes you got to take a step back to get, or like if you're going down a trail, right, and like the trail's winding, but you could take that risk and say, hey, I'm pretty sure if I cut to the woods here, I get to point F rather than going A, B, C, D, E, F, you know? And I'm just envisioning that as forward incremental progress and what that really looks like. It's like, okay, how do I be efficient with my activities? What am I really good at? What do I really want to do? Because I find that we find the most like fast forwarding and acceleration of the timeline of our goals when we really play. We're like the intersection between what we like to do and what we're like trying to do meet.
Hmm. It's like being logical and also unrealistic at the same time. You know, shooting for the stars, but also being realistic how you're going to get there. Yeah, you know, for me, as I always say, especially in my business, it's like it really depends. Like, what does that look like for each person? And I always recommend too for people is like, don't skip any steps because then you won't learn what you need to learn through the process. Like, and this goes back to we really get what we earn, not what we deserve. You know, I grew up in a pretty affluent town, and you know, it was interesting. The people who were given things, they a lot of the times had different attitudes than the people who had to work for things and earn things. So it's like, how do you find that balance where it's like, I don't want to be struggling all the time and have to be like working myself to the bone, and also like I can't be relaxing all day. Like here lies in like
Mhm.
such a great crossroads for life, you know. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
and what I recognize is it's the people who are the most successful are the ones who are consistent. They're consistent and they take small steps every day, which then become leaps and bounds. And the term that shows up too is compound interest. That's it leads to compound interest. It looks like a lot of the steps aren't doing much, and then one day it's like, whoa, this has really amounted to something. I can really see how far I've climbed or what's grown and what's expanded.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. And that's almost like this project that we're working on together, you know. And it's like just pacing ourselves, finding ourselves in this map, and how we're gonna integrate what we do into the like greater collective through the online presence. And yeah, it's just one step at a time and kind of feeling it out. Oh, did that work? Did that work? Hey, let's try something big, you know. And one way to think about it as well, when we think about progress is, as it's been put to me and kind of described to me, is that when you're starting out, take big risks, with small amounts of like your investments. So go ahead and like if this thing costs, $200 or $300, but it might pay off really good, go ahead and make that investment. Right? It's a big investment for you right now, and it might pay off, but it might not. And as you grow and you start to find your lane, then you start to make um less risky investments with a lot more of your capital. And that's really like where we like ground zero. There's so many different ways to go, you know, but as we kind of start to carve our path, that's why it's so important to really focus on what you like to do and what you want to do, because you're carving your path. And if you're starting to go in a direction of doing things just for money or just for fame or just for women or just for men, and like that attention, then you're going to end up in a place where you're going to have to kind of go back down to ground zero and start again. We don't want to do that. We only have so many years in this life. And that kind of goes back to what you were talking about when like people that grow up in an affluent neighborhood and things were like given to them. And it's like they kind of were born on third base, and like they really they didn't have to like hit the ball, get to first base, steal second, and then wait in impatient anticipation to get to third base. And like they're missing that aspect. And you'll find that people that like families that don't teach and like show what it took to get to the position that they're at, they tend to lose it almost
Hmm.
always, actually. Like even like Vanderbilt University, like there's like 30 families that like spawn from that like one thing. None of them are millionaires, not a single one.
Hmm. Well,
The value
it's
being transferred.
it is interesting how we all come into this life differently. And I feel like, again, in the context of forward incremental progress, change, growth, acknowledging how you came into this lifetime and where you're exactly at, like that's actually a big component of knowing what your journey is and knowing what your destiny is, so to speak. And that's a really important component of it. And it's a good reminder too, is just because you were born at third base doesn't mean you have it great. You still have to get home. And here's the other thing too, is that there's 9 innings to baseball, so chances are you're going to have to go up to bat as well. So it's like it's all this spiral cycle. It's like that person born on third, he still has to get home, then he still probably has to go up to bat, then he has to go into the field. So it's like you still have to play all these different parts and still have to earn your keep for, like, no matter where you're at. And you know what? What's interesting too is there's people who I've known from these affluent areas who are very good people, brought up with great morals and values, and really know the context of responsibility and being good people. So it's like it's interesting to suss out, and it's hard to point at one thing because 10 people can go through the same experience and just interpret it and experience it completely differently. And like, what determines that? And it's just like you do, like that's the
Mm.
simple answer. You do and I do, and it's yours. And that's what's so beautiful about that. No one can really tell you what your next step is. You know what's best for you. And obviously we can get consulted and we can get guidance and we can work with the team, but ultimately your best next step. But in the context of efficiency and effectiveness, I find it's always been, whatever you're working on, whether it's alone or with other people, really be on point. Take inventory. What is my next step? What's the best step? And if I'm working with a team, how can we all work effectively and efficiently together, whether it's technology or other human beings too?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. You hit it. I love the baseball analogy. It's so perfect. Yeah. You know, life is just
Yeah.
it just keeps coming at you. There's rounds and there's seasons, right? And just like there's innings in baseball, and there's teammates and there's players, and you don't get to pick your players. Coach picks your teammates. And we got to learn to play with those situations that life, the hand that life deals us, and use it to our, not only our greatest interest, but the greatest interest of our environment, because what we put out is going to be returned to us.
Mm. Do you find that when you do it in your best interest, like your real best interest, like your integral, your purposeful interest, don't you find that other people inevitably benefit from it too? It's kind of like this ping pong thing. It's like when I'm at my best, I notice that I contribute to others in the best way that's possible in a given moment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about this. Like if Wayne Gretzky said, "Hey, I really love hockey, but I think I can make a lot of money in the stock market. I'm gonna go do that." Do you think he would have made a more impactful, more of an impactful life and like impression doing that, or staying in his lane and doing what his purpose was here to do, was to play hockey?
Well, I'd say play hockey, but if he took those forward incremental steps every day, in the stock market, who's to say,
Yeah, yeah, and that that's not to say don't be eclectic, right? Um,
Hmm.
I'm a very eclectic person. That's why I've always, but and this is another thing, is like analysis paralysis. Like, should I do this or should I not do this, and so on and so forth. And that's what like the lifestyle maps is so important too. Is you're going to be able to track your forward incremental progress so much better when you're playing to your lifestyle map and what you really want to do and what your goals really are, what's your plan, what's your strategy, and what are you going to implement. And the cool thing is, like, you just dabble into it with the tactics and the objectives. And it's like, okay, are these getting to where I want to go? No. Okay, then I sidestep. Then I do a lateral. Oh, that's so cool. There's a huge bird that just took off. Anyway,
What
yeah,
kind of bird was it?
it was a, oh, what do they call those? They call them a crane. It was a crane.
Cool.
Oh yeah. And
Good medicine.
oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, we get to sidestep and laterals. Sometimes it's taking a step back and it's like, okay, what just happened here? I need to reevaluate this. Am I going down the right way? Like, are we following the yellow squares or the blue circles on this trail of life? What am I doing?
Hmm. Yeah, taking inventory is helpful. And, as we always come back to the conversation, like that's what training is really for. It's preparing for the life that you want to live and also preparing for the pitfalls of your life. And I find that when we can explore those spaces and really tap in, we can kind of clear some of these things out of the way so we can really be more clear with what is our next step. Do we want to follow the yellow? Do we want to follow the blue? And again, like no one's going to be able to tell you that. But what is possible is creating a context every day where you can really clear your space and you can really understand what your forward incremental progress is looking like. And like what shows up for me too, it's like how we get to mastery level of anything is through ourselves. And like it's almost like if we're going to take these quantum leaps and not enjoy the journey, it's like kind of defeats the purpose of life. And like I was actually thinking about this the other day. A great metaphor is like you've played Grand Theft Auto, haven't you?
Yeah.
So a great example is like it's a pretty tough game. Like it's a pretty difficult game. And they always have cheat codes where you can have like unlimited health, unlimited guns, unlimited money.
Mhm.
And like of course anyone who's played it has obviously played with these cheats and like it's fun, but then it gets really boring. And it's
Yeah.
just like it kind of takes the purpose out of the game. You're just wandering around aimlessly. And if you're like 99% of people, you're picking up hookers, you're shooting everybody, you're
Yeah.
you're, you're getting in the tank and killing all the police, and it's like it just gets boring. It takes away the
Yeah.
meaning of it. So it's like, it's great to hit landmarks and hit your results, and like
Mhm.
also it's like let's enjoy the journey and remember how we got there because it's all about
Oh
the
yeah.
story, it's about the process, and then the result is a great consequence of the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing to keeping, in our minds as we go through life, like this is not a football game. There is no gridiron to rate our progress. So how are you going to rate your progress? Like you need to establish that for yourself. You need to put your life in a framework so that you could understand where you've been, where you're going, how far you've gotten. Did you have to take a lateral? Did you have to do this? And that way you could almost create a story for yourself and understand where you've come from, understand what you've done. And that's like the power of journaling. And that's the power of meditation. is you build that frame, and you're not just like constantly going from here to there and so on and so forth, and you're so busy that you totally lost the wood to the trees. Like you're just kind of lost in the sauce. And you're just like, wait, what am I doing again? And like you're living other people's stories because you haven't taken
Mm,
a step back, and you have like you're just like an NPC completing other people's stories.
mm.
I
And
don't that's not my path personally.
it's not. And like I agree with you as being a business owner. And also like part of that, part of completing other people's journeys or completing part of their puzzle pieces, it could be part of our journey too, however
Oh
we
yeah.
decide to help people. But and like I totally know what you're talking about. I feel that distinction that you're talking about. And like there's definitely a difference. It's like we gotta be on our own path. And I was talking to a student the other day about this, about personal responsibility and living her journey. And what I reminded her of is like, resentment and shame and bitterness they're really potent emotions. And I noticed that when we don't take steps in the direction of our life that we really want, what ends up happening is we go down this path and we kind of rationalize it. We kind of pay attention. We don't pay attention to the whispers. We just kind of ride them off as not important. And then like then we like start getting these yells and screams, like in the
Mhm,
form of healing symptoms, or like whatever it
mhm,
is, mental, or being frustrated, or not getting enough sleep, or what have you. And like we
mhm.
start getting these screams. So it's like the body is so beautiful. It whispers to you, and life whispers to you. So it's important that we listen to these whispers, and they're going to show up in
Absolutely.
ways that make sense to you. But like bitterness, resentment, and shame they're really difficult to deal with if you've been going down the wrong path for a long time. And it's like no wonder why people don't choose to change, because like, man, I've been
Yeah.
walking down the wrong path for 30 fucking years, and now I all of a
Mhm.
sudden realize it. Like that's intense, man. Like it takes a lot to change, and I've seen it. It's rare. I've seen it. Um, you know, and it's
Yeah,
it's definitely
for sure.
doable, but it's like it's difficult to deal with that.
Yeah, no doubt. And like going back to the Grand Theft Auto or idea concept, it's like, yeah, these other people and like that have all the cheat codes to life, and it's like you're just the people that are just getting run over on the sidewalk. And it's like, okay, once you understand, it's like, okay, maybe I wouldn't be in that situation if I was like about my purpose. And like that's kind of like the situation that we're in. We gotta understand like the game of life, right? It's like we got to play to the rules that are here at this time, and not as like strict obedience, but in the hopes to be able to change it. Because you could be like the person that just like sets themselves on fire or whatever. It's like, but that doesn't really change anything. We have to take responsibility, and sometimes it looks uh like guerrilla action, right? So even if you don't have land yourself, it's like, okay, is there woods near you? Start a guerrilla garden. It's not your land, but nobody else is using it, and
Hmm.
just take responsibility. It's like, man, I wish it wasn't this way. I wish food wasn't so expensive. Okay, what are you doing about it?
Yeah. Yeah. The victim consciousness is a really difficult one to get out of. And honestly, too, like this is what goes back to forward incremental progress. It's like taking steps every day and trusting that process, and training every day to really reinforce and really contemplate, feel, introspect, in like intuitize, feel, change, don't change. Like this is what training's for. So you can be present with those choices and make the absolute best choice for you, or not. That's part of your training too, if that's what you want to do. But
Mhm.
it's it's interesting here. There are rules here. There's definitely rules here, and like we should observe them. And what I've noticed is that humanity, man, like we've been breaking a lot of the rules for a long time, and look at how strong we are even when we do that.
I
Um,
know.
just
Yeah.
imagine if we actually
Amazing
played
grace.
by, and just imagine if we played by the rules. I'm not talking about like, I'm talking about the rules here. The rules, like the immutable truths here, like the sun rises. No one can really, you can't debate that. There's four
Mhm.
seasons in Chicago, like the laws of nature, rhythm, polarity, all these things. Like you can't argue with these. Imagine when humanity really starts just working with these and not breaking them. Imagine how strong we are
Mhm.
then. And that's what training gets
Exactly.
you to, man. That's what training gets you to. That's the whole attainment of it. Like, and maybe you'll never get there. Maybe you will. Maybe you can enjoy the process and you're already there.
Yeah. Yeah, so the invitation for our viewers today, and thank you all for showing up and listening, is to take the next step, guys. If these conversations are piquing your interest, reach out to us. We're in the the business of getting people the resources and the knowledge to take responsibility for their lives and really helping people understand what their life path is. And it's a self-discovery process. We just give you the tools. We give you the paint and the canvas and the paintbrush and tell you which paintbrush to use, which color for this situation. If you want to draw a dark scene or a bright scene, a winter scene or a summer scene, that's what we're here to do for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Sean. And that's exactly it. We provide a canvas and you get to discover your own journey. And, I know that it's a little bit different than the current healthcare model where you're given things and told what to do. But this model is more focused on the how and the why so that you can discover your self-evident what's. And that's going to be the future of healthcare. If we want to heal, people want to heal. There's a time and a place to be told what to do. I acknowledge that. When we're in crisis and we're going through X, Y, or Z, I acknowledge that. And
Mhm.
we, in order to really take responsibility and be mature, it's important that we discover our why and our how, because then the what becomes self-evident. And that's
Mhm.
really what Twice as Fit's about. Is we have a million whats, like, and people know most of them. The question is do you know your why? Do you know your how? So then you can really become self-evident with what the what is.
Absolutely. Yep. God, creator of the universe, is going to preserve you if you're about your purpose. If you're not about your purpose, he's going to take you out, or she's going to take
Yeah.
you out, however you want to see
Or
it.
it's going or you're gonna take yourself out. How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
One in
Exactly.
this
So
day, maybe. Yeah, thanks,
we're
Sean. Thanks
good.
for showing up today. Thanks for talking about and diving into forward incremental progress. The best spot to reach us at is email acourtney1987 at gmail.com. Also, my number is 847-624-0050. Text or phone call. Sean, why don't you give these awesome people your information too if they want to reach out to you as well?
Sure. If you guys want to reach out to me, get signed up, get a consultation with Alex. You could also reach me at coolhandhick at protonmail.com. Cool Hand Hick, like Cool Hand Luke, at protonmail.com. You can also call me directly at 803-804-3803. Just like our life starts and ends the same.
Hmm. Thanks for reminding, brother. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for showing up today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex.